What if the past is far stranger than we've ever imagined? Hidden beneath layers of time, shrouded in silence, lie discoveries that defy explanation, artifacts and ruins that whisper secrets of civilizations lost, technologies we thought impossible, and mysteries that challenge everything we know about human history. From tombs carved with precision beyond modern comprehension to objects whose purpose remains an enigma, these finds have left scientists, historians, and explorers alike stunned, questioning reality itself. Tonight, we journey into the unknown, stepping carefully into shadows of the past, to uncover 10 breathtakingly mysterious archaeological discoveries that shocked the world. Are you ready to witness history as you've never seen it? High in the Andean highlands of Peru, near the quiet town of Sayhuite, lies a curious and enigmatic stone, carved and shaped in a way that has puzzled archaeologists and explorers for decades. At first glance, it appears almost ordinary. A massive, roughly rectangular boulder resting amid the rolling terrain. But as one steps closer, the ordinary gives way to the extraordinary. The surface is etched with an intricate network of channels, terraces, pools, and depressions, forming a complex topography no one has been able to fully decipher. From above, the stone resembles a miniature landscape, an entire watershed condensed into granite. Water, the lifeblood of civilizations, seems to have been central to its design. But for what purpose? The Sayhuite stone, often called the Sayhuite Enigma, has been the subject of study since the early 20th century, attracting scholars of archaeology, anthropology, and ancient engineering. Some suggest that it functioned as a hydraulic model, a teaching tool for local populations to understand irrigation systems in the rugged Andean terrain. This theory gains some traction when we consider the ingenuity of the Inca civilization, known for their sophisticated agricultural terraces, canals, and water distribution networks that still survive today. Could this stone have been a practical prototype, a scaled representation of an irrigation system? Yet, even within this seemingly rational explanation, mysteries persist. The level of precision carved into the stone is remarkable. Channels of varying depths lead to pools of different sizes, some interconnected in ways that defy straightforward understanding. Certain depressions appear to be designed for water flow, yet they lead nowhere, spilling into basins that do not correspond to any known irrigation needs. Is it possible that some sections were symbolic rather than functional? Or perhaps they encoded knowledge now lost to time? Speculative interpretations, while controversial, have also gained attention. Some researchers have suggested that the stone represents a cosmological map, a miniature depiction of the surrounding landscape infused with spiritual significance. The Incas viewed water not only as a practical resource, but as a sacred element, a bridge between the earthly and the divine. Could the channels and pools have served ceremonial purposes, guiding offerings or rituals tied to the cycles of rain, rivers, and fertility? If so, the Sayhuite stone was not merely a tool, it was a sacred text carved in rock, one that demands understanding through observation, reverence, and imagination. Others have ventured further, suggesting that the precision and scale of the stone might hint at lost technological knowledge, or even at connections between ancient cultures whose engineering feats remain difficult to explain. Comparisons are sometimes drawn to other ancient hydraulic sites worldwide, though direct evidence of such links remains elusive. Could the Sayhuite stone have been a prototype for experimentation, a site for trial and error in understanding water management? Or is it, as some propose, a relic of a sophisticated knowledge system that we are only beginning to glimpse? Walking around the stone today, one cannot help but notice how it seems to interact with its environment. Water collects naturally in some depressions after rain, tracing channels as if the rock itself remembers the patterns of the Andes' streams and rivers. Sunlight and shadow reveal subtle details that are invisible at first glance, as though the stone is inviting careful study, whispering its secrets slowly, piece by piece. And yet, no single theory accounts for every aspect of its design. Each layer of investigation seems to reveal new questions rather than final answers. The Sayhuite stone, silent and immovable, stands as a testament to human ingenuity, curiosity, and perhaps something beyond our immediate understanding. It raises questions not just about Inca engineering, but about how ancient civilizations interacted with the natural world and encoded knowledge in ways that survive far longer than written records. Was it a practical model, a sacred object, or both? Did it serve the everyday needs of the local population, or was it a ritual artifact meant to honor the forces of water that sustained life in the Andes? As the wind sweeps across the highlands, carrying the scent of earth and stone, the stone waits. It waits for observers to study it, to hypothesize, to wonder. And yet, it offers no easy answers. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to endure, reminding us that the past is vast, intricate, and sometimes unknowable. The Sayhuite stone remains a silent enigma, a puzzle carved in granite, challenging us to consider what knowledge may still lie hidden, waiting to be understood, or perhaps forever beyond reach. High in the Andean highlands of Peru, near the quiet town of Sayhuite, lies a curious and enigmatic stone, carved and shaped in a way that has puzzled archaeologists and explorers for decades. At first glance, it appears almost ordinary. A massive, roughly rectangular boulder resting amid the rolling terrain. But as one steps closer, the ordinary gives way to the extraordinary. The surface is etched with an intricate network of channels, terraces, pools, and depressions, forming a complex topography no one has been able to fully decipher. From above, the stone resembles a miniature landscape, an entire watershed condensed into granite. Water, the lifeblood of civilizations, seems to have been central to its design. But for what purpose? The Sayhuite stone, often called the Sayhuite Enigma, has been the subject of study since the early 20th century, attracting scholars of archaeology, anthropology, and ancient engineering. Some suggest that it functioned as a hydraulic model, a teaching tool for local populations to understand irrigation systems in the rugged Andean terrain. This theory gains some traction when we consider the ingenuity of the Inca civilization, known for their sophisticated agricultural terraces, canals, and water distribution networks that still survive today. Could this stone have been a practical prototype, a scaled representation of an irrigation system? Yet, even within this seemingly rational explanation, mysteries persist. The level of precision carved into the stone is remarkable. Channels of varying depths lead to pools of different sizes, some interconnected in ways that defy straightforward understanding. Certain depressions appear to be designed for water flow, yet they lead nowhere, spilling into basins that do not correspond to any known irrigation needs. Is it possible that some sections were symbolic rather than functional? Or perhaps they encoded knowledge now lost to time? Speculative interpretations, while controversial, have also gained attention. Some researchers have suggested that the stone represents a cosmological map, a miniature depiction of the surrounding landscape infused with spiritual significance. The Incas viewed water not only as a practical resource, but as a sacred element, a bridge between the earthly and the divine. Could the channels and pools have served ceremonial purposes, guiding offerings or rituals tied to the cycles of rain, rivers, and fertility? If so, the Sayhuite stone was not merely a tool, it was a sacred text carved in rock, one that demands understanding through observation, reverence, and imagination. Others have ventured further, suggesting that the precision and scale of the stone might hint at lost technological knowledge or even at connections between ancient cultures whose engineering feats remain difficult to explain. Comparisons are sometimes drawn to other ancient hydraulic sites worldwide, though direct evidence of such links remains elusive. Could the Sayhuite stone have been a prototype for experimentation, a site for trial and error in understanding water management? Or is it, as some propose, a relic of a sophisticated knowledge system that we are only beginning to glimpse? Walking around the stone today, one cannot help but notice how it seems to interact with its environment. Water collects naturally in some depressions after rain, tracing channels as if the rock itself remembers the patterns of the Andes streams and rivers. Sunlight and shadow reveal subtle details that are invisible at first glance, as though the stone is inviting careful study, whispering its secrets slowly, piece by piece. And yet, no single theory accounts for every aspect of its design. Each layer of investigation seems to reveal new questions rather than final answers. The Sayhuite stone, silent and immovable, stands as a testament to human ingenuity, curiosity, and perhaps something beyond our immediate understanding. It raises questions not just about Inca engineering, but about how ancient civilizations interacted with the natural world and encoded knowledge in ways that survive far longer than written records. Was it a practical model, a sacred object, or both? Did it serve the everyday needs of the local population, or was it a ritual artifact meant to honor the forces of water that sustained life in the Andes? As the wind sweeps across the highlands, carrying the scent of earth and stone, the stone waits. It waits for observers to study it, to hypothesize, to wonder. And yet, it offers no easy answers. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to endure, reminding us that the past is vast, intricate, and sometimes unknowable. The Sayhuite stone remains a silent enigma, a puzzle carved in granite, challenging us to consider what knowledge may still lie hidden, waiting to be understood, or perhaps forever beyond reach. From the rugged cliffs of Azerbaijan, where stone shelters whisper of human ingenuity and hidden knowledge, our journey moves southward across continents and centuries, arriving in the sun-scorched deserts of southern Peru. Here, the Nazca region stretches in endless ochre and sand, a landscape etched with geometric lines, spirals, and the enigmatic figures known as the Nazca lines. Yet, beneath the surface of this ancient desert lies a discovery that has captivated, perplexed, and divided researchers around the world. A series of mummified remains, unlike anything seen in conventional archaeology. These remains, often referred to as the alien mummies of Nazca, immediately draw attention for their unusual features. Unlike typical human skeletons, some exhibit elongated skulls, unusually thin limbs, and proportions that seem almost otherworldly. Their hands, in particular, appear to have fewer fingers than standard human anatomy, a detail that has sparked both scientific scrutiny and popular fascination. The mummies are small, yet remarkably well preserved, their skin and soft tissue showing signs of advanced preservation techniques. How could such delicate remains survive centuries in a region known for its arid, sun-baked climate? Conventional explanations suggest that some of the anomalies may result from natural deformation or cultural practices of cranial elongation, common in various ancient South American societies. The Nazca culture, known for its sophisticated engineering and ceremonial traditions, did practice cranial modification in infancy, shaping the skull with bindings or boards. Could these unusual mummies simply be extreme examples of such practices? Or do the skeletal irregularities hint at something entirely outside the familiar patterns of human anatomy? Researchers who have examined the mummies report conflicting observations. Radiocarbon dating has produced timelines ranging from a few hundred to over 1,000 years old, placing them roughly within the era of the Nazca civilization. Yet DNA analyses remain inconclusive. Some samples show human markers, while others appear anomalous, defying easy categorization. Are these results the product of contamination, degradation, or something more enigmatic? A biological record that challenges conventional taxonomy? Speculative interpretations abound, often propelled by the mummies' strikingly atypical features. Some propose that they may represent unknown subspecies of humans, or even the remnants of genetic experimentation by ancient civilizations with knowledge now lost. Others suggest that the remains might be evidence of contact with entities from beyond our world, a theory that, while controversial, captures the imagination precisely because the conventional explanations seem incomplete. And yet, without definitive peer-reviewed research to support any extraordinary claims, the mystery remains suspended in a delicate balance between skepticism and wonder. The location of these finds adds another layer to their intrigue. Hidden in remote caves and desert niches, the mummies were preserved away from human interference, exposed only to the extremes of heat, wind, and sand. Their discovery raises questions about intent. Why would such beings, or this particular burial practice, be hidden in such isolated areas? Was it for ritual protection, secrecy, or some purpose we have yet to understand? The caves themselves seem to amplify the sense of reverence, echoing whispers of a culture that may have interacted with forces, knowledge, or beings outside the scope of conventional history. Observers report that the mummies evoke a sense of unease and fascination. There is an undeniable fragility in their presence, a haunting precision in their features, as though the creators, or caretakers, intended them to endure through centuries, waiting for eyes capable of perceiving their true nature. Every elongated limb, every curved skull, every subtle anomaly invites questions not easily answered. What stories do these remains carry? What knowledge did their creators hold that is now lost to time? As the desert wind sweeps across the Nazca plains, brushing the sand into shifting patterns beneath the watchful cliffs, the mummies remain silent witnesses to a history that refuses easy classification. Were they merely humans subjected to extreme cultural practices, or do they hint at something far more extraordinary, a chapter of our past that challenges the boundaries of biology, archaeology, and history? The answers remain elusive, suspended between the certainty of scientific investigation and the vast possibilities of the unknown. And so, the alien mummies of Nazca endure, enigmatic and enigmatic still, inviting us to ponder what secrets lie buried beneath the sands, waiting for those bold enough to uncover them. From the arid sands of Nazca, where mummies defy conventional understanding, we now journey across continents and millennia to a city that once throbbed with imperial power, wealth, and ambition: Alexandria, Egypt. Here, along the Mediterranean coastline, lies one of history's most enduring enigmas, the final resting place of Alexander the Great, the conqueror whose empire stretched from Greece to the edges of India. For centuries, the exact location of his tomb has eluded archaeologists, historians, and treasure hunters alike, becoming a mystery that continues to tantalize scholars and enthusiasts around the world. Contemporary accounts suggest that Alexander's body was originally placed in a golden sarcophagus, perhaps lined with precious metals and exotic materials. Ancient chroniclers describe a grand procession, a journey that took his remains from Babylon to Memphis, and finally to Alexandria. The city, newly founded by Alexander himself, was designed to reflect his vision of a global empire, and his tomb was said to be a centerpiece of reverence and prestige, visited by rulers and commoners alike. Yet, despite detailed historical records of its construction and initial grandeur, the tomb itself vanished from view, swallowed by time, earthquakes, and urban expansion. Archaeologists have scoured Alexandria for centuries, yet each excavation yields tantalizing hints rather than definitive proof. Some point to remnants of Roman-era structures or fragments of monumental architecture that could mark the tomb's location. Others suggest that it may have been deliberately concealed, either to protect it from looters or as part of a ritual practice intended to preserve the sanctity of the conqueror's remains. How could a city as well documented as Alexandria allow the resting place of its founder and the world's most famous general to vanish so completely? Speculation intensifies when one considers the numerous historical accounts of visitors to Alexander's tomb. Roman emperors reportedly paid homage, and even Cleopatra is said to have visited the site. Yet no archaeological evidence has conclusively confirmed these stories, leaving scholars to wonder whether these accounts were based on myth, misidentification, or lost structures. Could the tomb have been deliberately misdirected, its exact coordinates hidden in secret records now lost to history? Or did natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, and centuries of urban development simply erase it from the surface of the earth? Fringe theories and more speculative ideas have emerged over the years. Some researchers propose that Alexander's tomb may have contained treasures or knowledge beyond the ordinary, reflecting not only his military genius, but also an ambition to preserve secrets of empire, governance, or even esoteric wisdom. Others have suggested that the tomb might have been moved entirely, relocated in secrecy to another location to protect the body and its contents from plunder. Yet, without concrete evidence, these theories remain in the realm of conjecture, provocative, yet unverified. The mystery is compounded by the tantalizing fragments of Alexandria's history that remain buried beneath modern streets, mosques, and marketplaces. Satellite imaging and ground-penetrating radar occasionally hint at unusual structures or cavities, sparking hope among explorers and scholars alike. Still, every potential lead has raised as many questions as it answered. Why would a tomb of such historical and cultural significance disappear so completely? And what might the world lose in understanding if it remains hidden forever? Visiting Alexandria today, one can feel the weight of centuries pressing against the modern city. The sea glimmers in the distance, carrying whispers of empires past, and the streets bustle above layers of history long buried. The thought of Alexander himself, lying in a tomb that has defied discovery, reminds us of the fragile intersection between memory, monument, and myth. It is a testament not only to the man, but to the impermanence of human endeavor, and the ways in which even the greatest legacies can slip into obscurity. The tomb's enduring elusiveness invites reflection. Was it ever intended to be found by future generations, or was its disappearance part of a plan, an intentional act to safeguard the memory of Alexander from the ordinary march of time? Perhaps the tomb exists, waiting silently beneath layers of earth and history, a secret yet to be uncovered. And as we ponder its hidden chambers, one cannot help but wonder, what truths about the world's most famous conqueror and the civilizations that rose and fell around him might still lie buried, patiently awaiting discovery? From the bustling streets of Alexandria, where the resting place of one of history's most legendary conquerors remains lost to time, our journey now takes us far north, to the windswept steppes of Russia's southern Urals. Here, amid rolling grasslands and isolated hills, lies Arkaim, a site whose enigmatic stone tombs have puzzled historians, archaeologists, and visitors alike. The ruins, partially buried and eerily silent, exude an aura of ancient sophistication, suggesting a culture deeply connected to the cycles of the stars, the rhythms of the earth, and the mysteries of life and death itself. Approaching Arkaim, the first impression is one of careful design. Circular stone walls, concentric streets, and carefully planned enclosures hint at urban planning far more advanced than one might expect from such an ancient settlement. But it is the stone tombs on the periphery that capture the imagination. These chambers, hewn from local rock, are geometric and precise, often rectangular or trapezoidal, with chambers arranged in a deliberate pattern. Inside, remnants of ash, pottery, and human remains suggest ritualized burials, yet the full purpose and symbolism of the tombs remain a matter of debate. Arkaim itself dates back roughly 4,000 years, contemporaneous with the Late Bronze Age, a period of great mobility, trade, and cultural exchange across the Eurasian steppes. Some scholars classify the site within the Sintashta culture, known for its fortified settlements and metallurgical expertise. The tombs, in this context, could be interpreted as communal burial sites or ceremonial structures. Yet, there is something in their arrangement that defies simple explanation. The alignment of the tombs, the careful placement of stones, and the apparent orientation toward celestial events hint at a knowledge of astronomy and sacred geometry that seems astonishing for the period. Could these tombs have been part of a larger cosmological framework, a terrestrial reflection of the heavens above? The mystery deepens when considering the construction techniques. The stones are unusually well cut and fitted, often forming chambers with precise angles and smooth interiors. Some researchers suggest that this required advanced tools and knowledge that may not have been widespread at the time, raising questions about the technological capabilities of the people who built Arkaim. How did they achieve such accuracy without the benefit of modern instruments? And why devote such effort to tombs that, by today's standards, might seem modest in scale, but are extraordinary in precision? Speculative interpretations have emerged alongside conventional analysis. Some propose that the tombs were not solely for burial, but also served as ritualistic or energy centers, spaces where the living could commune with ancestors or celestial forces. Others suggest connections to lost or forgotten traditions, perhaps even linked to the transmission of knowledge from one culture to another across vast distances. In fringe discussions, comparisons are drawn to megalithic sites in Europe or the Near East, suggesting a network of ancient civilizations with shared architectural or cosmological insights. While intriguing, such hypotheses remain unverified, leaving the tomb's ultimate significance tantalizingly elusive. Visiting Arkaim today, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe and reverence. The stones rise from the earth like silent witnesses to rituals, lives, and knowledge long vanished. The wind sweeps across the open steppe, carrying with it whispers of the past, and the tombs seem to respond, quiet but insistent, as if urging careful observation and contemplation. Every angle, every chamber, every carefully placed stone asks questions rather than offering answers. Who were the people who built this place? What beliefs guided their hands and their hearts? And what knowledge did they encode in the very fabric of the tombs? Despite decades of study, Arkaim resists simple explanation. It is a settlement and a burial ground, a testament to human ingenuity and spiritual aspiration, yet it remains profoundly enigmatic. Are the stone tombs markers of a civilization lost to time, or remnants of a culture that possessed knowledge we have yet to understand? As the sun sets over the steppe, casting long shadows across the stone walls, one is reminded that some mysteries endure precisely because they are meant to inspire curiosity and reflection. Arkaim's tombs do not surrender their secrets easily, leaving us to wonder, what truths about the people who built this ancient city and the world they inhabited are still waiting beneath the earth, hidden in silence, waiting to be discovered, waiting? From the wind-swept steppes of Arkaim, where stone tombs whisper of ancient knowledge lost to time, our journey now moves westward into the dense forests and rolling hills of North Carolina's Appalachian region. Here, tucked away amid moss-covered boulders and shaded groves, lies Judaculla Rock, a massive granite boulder etched with hundreds of mysterious carvings each line and symbol a remnant of a culture long vanished from the record. Its presence feels immediate, almost sentient, as if the rock itself is a storyteller, preserving narratives that have resisted translation for centuries. Judaculla Rock stretches roughly 10 meters in length and towers several meters high, its surface covered in an intricate tapestry of petroglyphs. Spirals, footprints, concentric circles, handprints, and abstract forms intertwine across the granite, leaving observers with a sense of organized chaos. At first glance, it may appear to be a collection of random markings, yet closer study reveals recurring motifs and patterns, suggesting a deliberate intent behind each incision. Who carved these symbols, and why? What knowledge or stories were they attempting to convey, etched permanently into stone? Scholars generally attribute the carvings to the Cherokee people, though the exact age of the petroglyphs is difficult to determine, with estimates ranging from 1,000 to as much as 3,000 years old. Traditional interpretations suggest that Judaculla Rock served as a territorial marker, a ceremonial site, or a record of local mythologies. The site is named after Tzulkalu, or Judaculla, a giant slant-eyed figure in Cherokee legend said to have extraordinary powers. According to these stories, Judaculla could traverse the mountains with a single leap, leaving tracks in the earth that would guide or warn future generations. Could the boulder itself represent a map or guide, a visual translation of the landscape and the myths intertwined within it? Yet, even within mainstream explanations, the rock presents puzzles that defy easy answers. Certain carvings appear to align with astronomical events or natural features in the surrounding hills, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of the environment. Spirals and concentric circles may indicate sun or moon cycles, seasonal changes, or territorial boundaries, though definitive proof is elusive. Some symbols remain so abstract that their meaning cannot be reliably interpreted through conventional archaeology, leaving gaps that invite both curiosity and speculation. Speculative theories have emerged over the years, some suggesting that Judaculla Rock encodes knowledge far beyond the typical scope of prehistoric cultures. Could the carvings represent star maps, ancient counting systems, or even communication with entities unknown to human experience? Others have suggested that the rock served as a portal of spiritual or ritualistic significance, where the Cherokee, and perhaps earlier cultures, interacted with forces of the natural and supernatural worlds. While these ideas remain unproven, they underscore the profound sense of mystery that surrounds the site. The boulder's location adds another layer to its intrigue. Nestled in a remote valley and partially hidden by vegetation, Judaculla Rock feels deliberately secluded, almost as if it was intended to be discovered only by those who knew where to look, or perhaps by those attuned to its purpose. Natural erosion and lichen cover parts of the carvings, softening edges and obscuring details, making each inspection an exercise in patience and careful observation. With every shift in sunlight or angle of approach, new patterns emerge, revealing glimpses of intentional design that challenge simple interpretation. Visiting the site, one cannot help but sense the depth of human effort embedded in the rock. The carvings, weathered yet enduring, carry echoes of generations who approach the boulder with reverence, leaving behind traces of belief, knowledge, or instruction. And yet, despite centuries of study, the full meaning of Judaculla Rock remains elusive. Each line, each spiral, each footprint carved into the granite invites questions without providing definitive answers. What stories were meant to survive through this stone? What knowledge was encoded for those yet to come? And what secrets might still lie hidden beneath the layers of time, waiting for the patient eye to discern their significance? Judaculla Rock endures as a silent witness to the past, a puzzle both tangible and enigmatic. It reminds us that human history is layered, complex, and often resistant to straightforward interpretation. As we trace the grooves and spirals with our eyes, the boulder seems to ask us a single, persistent question. How much of the knowledge of ancient peoples has been lost, and what might remain, silently waiting to be discovered in places where only the curious dare to look? From the forested hills and carved boulders of Judaculla Rock, where human hands left enduring marks of myth and memory, we now journey to the stark, sun-scorched expanses of the Colorado Desert, where the sands themselves bear mysterious imprints of the past. Here, near the town of Blythe, California, lie the Blythe Intaglios, vast desert geoglyphs etched into the earth, visible in their full scale only from above, sprawling across hundreds of meters of dry soil. These enormous figures, humanoid and animal in form, emerge from the landscape like ghostly giants frozen in time, their outlines precise, deliberate, and hauntingly enigmatic. The Blythe Intaglios were first documented in the early 20th century by aerial surveyors, though local indigenous communities had long known of their presence. The figures include humans, serpents, lizards, and other forms, some stretching nearly 50 meters in length. Their creation required the careful removal of darker topsoil to reveal lighter sand beneath, a task demanding both patience and coordination. Unlike typical rock art, these figures are not intended to be viewed from the ground. Who were the artists that conceived of designs meant to be observed from the sky? And what significance might these monumental forms have held for the people who created them? Mainstream archaeological interpretations suggest that the Blythe Intaglios were ritualistic in purpose, potentially tied to religious ceremonies, astronomical events, or social gatherings. Carbon dating and related studies estimate that some figures may be as much as 1,000 years old, likely crafted by ancestors of the Mojave, Quechan, or other indigenous groups of the region. The scale and precision of the geoglyphs indicate careful planning and coordination, yet their exact function remains a matter of speculation. Could these figures have served as territorial markers, spiritual symbols, or calendars linked to celestial patterns? Yet, even within conventional explanations, the geoglyphs pose mysteries. The human-like figures often display unusual proportions, elongated limbs, and exaggerated features, prompting questions about whether these were symbolic, representational, or a form of storytelling lost to history. Many of the animal forms appear to depict species that were locally significant but whose exact meaning within the cultural context is unclear. Why choose these particular forms, and what narratives did they convey? Did they communicate spiritual beliefs, historical events, or something entirely unknown to modern observers? Speculative interpretations extend beyond these conventional frameworks. Some researchers have suggested that the geoglyphs could represent astronomical alignments, star maps, or even depictions of mythic beings or deities. Others propose that their design and scale hint at a knowledge system passed down through generations, a visual language of the desert that encoded stories, rituals, and perhaps instructions for those attuned to its meaning. There are even fringe theories that suggest the geoglyphs were intended to be observed by beings from above, raising questions about ancient concepts of perspective and the relationship between humans and the heavens. The desert itself adds to the geoglyphs' mystique. The flat, open terrain preserves their lines remarkably well, yet it also isolates them, leaving them exposed to the elements and largely inaccessible except to those willing to traverse the harsh landscape. The wind scours the sand, and over centuries the lines shift subtly, giving the impression that the figures are breathing, slowly changing, yet enduring. Their immense scale ensures that even those standing nearby cannot fully comprehend the patterns. They reveal their full story only from an elevated viewpoint, inviting reflection on the intentions and vision of their creators. Visiting the Blythe Intaglios today, one is struck by the quiet power of human ambition etched across the desert floor. Each line, each curve, each figure speaks of hands guided by both skill and intent, of communities capable of conceiving monumental art on a scale that challenges modern imagination. And yet, despite careful study, much remains unexplained. Why these figures, in this location, in this scale, with such precision? What cultural, spiritual, or practical knowledge might they have preserved for generations long gone? From the sun-scorched deserts of California, where the Blythe Intaglios stretch across the earth like monumental sketches, our journey now moves halfway across the globe to the misted plateaus of Laos. Here, in the remote Xiangquang Plateau, lies the Plain of Jars, a vast landscape scattered with thousands of stone vessels, some towering over 3 meters tall, others more modest, yet no less imposing. These colossal jars, weathered by centuries of wind and rain, rest across rolling fields and hidden valleys, their origins and purpose cloaked in mystery. As one wanders among them, a profound silence hangs in the air, punctuated only by the occasional call of a distant bird or the rustle of grass against stone. The jars themselves are carved from sandstone, granite, and conglomerate rock, many weighing several tons. Their sheer size and the effort required to transport and position them on the plateau immediately raise questions. How did ancient peoples, with technology we consider primitive, move and arrange these massive stones across uneven terrain? Mainstream archaeology suggests that they date back to the Iron Age, roughly between 500 BCE and 500 CE. Yet even their creators remain largely anonymous. Local legend attributes the jars to the mythical Mekong giants, or ancient kings who used the stones in burial practices. But the truth, as always, is far more complex and elusive. The most widely accepted theory posits that the jars were used as funerary vessels, perhaps to hold human remains, ashes, or funerary goods. Excavations in some jar sites have uncovered burial pits, fragments of bone, and charcoal, lending some support to this interpretation. Yet, only a fraction of the jars have been studied in detail, and the sheer diversity of sizes, shapes, and placement patterns challenges simple categorization. Were these jars primarily practical, ceremonial, or a combination of both? And why scatter them across such a vast, sometimes inhospitable landscape, rather than concentrate them in a single necropolis? Adding to the enigma is the apparent alignment and distribution of the jars. Some researchers suggest that they may follow subtle patterns corresponding to natural features, river valleys, or even celestial events. Could the placement of the jars have been symbolic, encoding knowledge of astronomy, geography, or social organization? Some jars bear carved symbols, grooves, or channels, though their exact function remains unknown. Were they part of a complex ritual system now lost to time, or do they represent an early form of coded communication, intelligible only to those within the culture that created them? Speculative theories abound, as they often do with ancient sites whose full context has been obscured. Some propose that the jars may have been used in fermentation, storage, or other domestic processes, though their monumental scale makes such practical uses seem unlikely. Others suggest that the jars served as focal points for ritualistic gatherings, ceremonies of passage, or even contact with unseen spiritual forces. Their sheer size and the effort required to manipulate them imply that they were of extraordinary importance to the people who built them. Yet the exact significance remains tantalizingly out of reach. The landscape itself contributes to the aura of mystery. The jars sit in open fields, hidden valleys, and atop plateaus where fog often drifts low across the stone surfaces, lending an ethereal quality to the scene. Time has weathered some jars into simple mounds of rock, while others remain remarkably intact, their smooth curves catching sunlight in a way that highlights the skill of the ancient carvers. The interaction of natural forces and human labor creates an impression of deliberate artistry, a harmony between human intent and the environment that is both captivating and confounding. Visiting the Plain of Jars today, one is struck not only by their scale, but by the enduring questions they provoke. What drove ancient peoples to dedicate such extraordinary effort to these stone vessels? Were they primarily mortuary, spiritual, or symbolic? And what knowledge, technical, cultural, or cosmological, might be encoded in their forms and placements, now hidden beneath centuries of soil, time, and legend? The Plain of Jars stands as a quiet, monumental testament to human ingenuity, belief, and mystery. They remind us that not all history is preserved in written records. Some knowledge is etched directly into the landscape, awaiting discovery, interpretation, and understanding. And as the wind brushes across the plateau, carrying dust and echoes of the past, one is left with a simple yet profound question. How much of human history and the secrets of those who came before us remain scattered across the earth, waiting for eyes capable of perceiving their meaning? From the misted plateaus of Laos, where the Plain of Jars quietly guards centuries of human ritual and enigma, we now journey to the highlands of Peru, where the Andean mountains cradle one of the most mysterious ceremonial sites of pre-Columbian civilization, the Temple of the Moon, or Templo de la Luna. Perched on the northern slopes of the sacred Huaca Hill near Trujillo, this ancient structure is carved directly into the rock, its terraces and chambers blending seamlessly with the natural contours of the cliffside. From a distance, it seems almost alive, a monumental sculpture sculpted by human hands, yet perfectly in harmony with the surrounding landscape, shadowed by peaks that have watched over the region for millennia. The Temple of the Moon is striking in both scale and detail. Unlike the more famous Huaca del Sol, its companion site, this temple is more enigmatic, with steep staircases, intricate niches, and subterranean chambers that evoke an aura of ritual precision. Archaeologists date its construction to the Moche civilization, flourishing between roughly 100 CE and 700 CE. Yet despite these chronological anchors, much about the temple's function remains unresolved. Some chambers contain traces of ceremonial offerings, ceramics, figurines, and even human remains, but the patterns are inconsistent, leaving room for interpretation. Was it a sanctuary for elite priests, a site for astronomical observation, or a sacred venue for rites whose meanings we no longer comprehend? The design of the Temple of the Moon suggests intentional symbolism and advanced understanding of its environment. Terraces, ramps, and platforms are carefully aligned, and certain chambers appear to harness natural light, allowing the sun or moon to illuminate specific altars or niches at particular times of the year. Could these alignments have been intended to mark celestial events, agricultural cycles, or ritual calendars? The sophistication of the architecture, carved with remarkable precision directly into volcanic rock, raises questions about the technological skills and astronomical knowledge of the Moche people. Yet even within conventional archaeological interpretations, mysteries persist. Some areas of the temple are deliberately concealed, narrow corridors and hidden chambers that suggest the space was meant to be experienced selectively, perhaps only by the initiated. The walls themselves are decorated with carved and painted motifs, abstract patterns, anthropomorphic figures, and depictions of animals that seem to encode symbolic knowledge. Were these purely decorative, or do they hold deeper spiritual or cosmological significance, a code understood only by those who walked these chambers centuries ago? Speculative theories expand on these mysteries. Some researchers suggest that the Temple of the Moon may have served as a site for shamanic rituals, where participants sought to commune with deities or otherworldly forces. Others propose that it functioned as a repository of knowledge, its chambers and motifs acting as a physical record of Moche cosmology, mythology, or even lost technological understanding. There are even fringe interpretations, suggesting that the temple's placement and orientation encode knowledge from civilizations whose connections with the Andes remain uncertain, hinting at a shared or transmitted understanding of astronomy and sacred architecture across ancient cultures. The temple's location amplifies its enigmatic presence. Clinging to the mountainside, partially hidden from view and accessed only via steep terraces and rugged paths, it creates a sense of isolation and reverence. The wind sweeps across the site, carrying the scent of earth and stone, while shadows play across the carved surfaces in ways that change with the sun's angle. It is a space designed not merely to be seen, but to be experienced, inviting reflection, contemplation, and perhaps even awe. Visiting the Temple of the Moon today, one feels the careful deliberation of its builders. Every terrace, staircase, and chamber evokes human intent, yet the full narrative remains obscured. The site invites questions rather than providing answers. What was the precise nature of the rituals performed here? How did the Moche integrate astronomical observation, spiritual practice, and monumental architecture into a cohesive cultural expression? And what knowledge, encoded in stone and shadow, has been lost to time? From the sunlit terraces and shadowed chambers of the Temple of the Moon, where the Moche engraved their understanding of the cosmos into volcanic rock, we now travel northward across continents and centuries to the rolling plains of Saxony-Anhalt, Germany. Here lies the Goseck Circle, one of the oldest known circular enclosures in Europe, a Neolithic monument whose discovery in the early 2000s would challenge assumptions about prehistoric knowledge of astronomy, ritual, and landscape. Rising subtly from the flat farmland, its concentric ditches and wooden palisades are largely invisible at ground level, revealing their full precision only when viewed from above, a design that evokes both elegance and intention. The Goseck Circle consists of concentric rings, with the inner circle spanning roughly 75 meters in diameter, flanked by gaps that align with the winter solstice sunrise and sunset. Built around 4,900 BCE, it predates Stonehenge by nearly 2 millennia, yet demonstrates an astonishing understanding of solar movement and celestial cycles. Archaeological excavations have revealed post holes where wooden palisades once stood, their positions carefully plotted to frame the sun at precise moments of the year. Who were the builders of this circle, and how did they achieve such astronomical accuracy without written records or advanced instruments? Mainstream interpretations suggest that the Goseck Circle served as a solar observatory, marking key points in the seasonal calendar for agricultural, ceremonial, or communal purposes. The winter solstice, in particular, would have signaled critical changes in climate and crop cycles, providing both practical guidance and spiritual significance. Yet even with this seemingly practical function, many aspects of the circle remain mysterious. Why were such monumental efforts devoted to wooden palisades rather than permanent stone structures? What rituals, gatherings, or observances might have taken place within the circle's precise boundaries? Beyond its alignment and construction, the Goseck Circle invites questions through its broader landscape. Excavations have uncovered pottery shards, animal bones, and traces of fire, suggesting that the site hosted communal activity, feasting, and possibly sacrificial rites. Yet the absence of written records leaves interpretation largely speculative. Did the circle serve as a sacred space, a site for negotiation between humans and cosmic forces? Or was it a symbolic map of the heavens, translating celestial patterns into the terrestrial plane? Some researchers have even proposed that its design encodes numerical or calendrical knowledge, a primitive form of observation that anticipates later developments in astronomy and geometry. Speculative theories extend further, hinting at cultural or even mystical dimensions. Some suggest that the Goseck Circle was a place of initiation, where select individuals experienced rituals tied to birth, death, or spiritual transformation. Others posit that its geometric perfection may point to knowledge transmitted across generations, perhaps even linked to larger networks of Neolithic observatories scattered across Europe. While evidence remains fragmentary, the precision of its construction and its careful integration with the movements of the sun indicate a culture deeply attuned to both the natural and the cosmic worlds, a sophistication that modern observers can scarcely reconstruct. The experience of visiting Goseck today underscores its enigmatic presence. Standing at the edge of the circular ditches, one can sense the deliberate symmetry, the careful framing of space and light, and the quiet magnitude of human intention preserved across nearly 7,000 years. The winter sun, peeking over the horizon, briefly illuminates the path where the original palisades would have stood, casting long shadows that hint at the scale of gatherings and ceremonies that may have taken place here. The landscape is silent, yet its geometry speaks with a clarity that transcends the centuries. The Goseck Circle, like the Temple of the Moon and other ancient sites we have explored, endures as both a scientific puzzle and a spiritual testament. It challenges us to consider how early humans perceived time, sky, and ritual, and how they encoded complex knowledge in a form that survives only in earth and timber. And yet, despite decades of study, the circle retains its mysteries. What precise rituals unfolded within its boundaries? What knowledge guided its construction? And what connections, if any, might it share with other enigmatic monuments across the globe? As the sun sets, the Goseck Circle remains a place of contemplation, its ditches and post holes illuminated by fleeting light, reminding us that some of humanity's oldest knowledge is encoded in the landscape, quietly preserving its secrets across millennia.